With the recent season of anime releases coming to an end, it's time to catch up on a few shows that piqued my interest, one of which being the second season to Love is War, but I'm going to go ahead and review the first season as well, because I said so. Alright, let's cut through the bullshit. Kaguya-sama is actually really good. It's a lot of fun. Trying to pretend otherwise would just be an obnoxious attempt to be a contrarian. No, I like this show a lot. The premise is simple enough, but the way it is done makes it really stand out. Gonna talk about all this later though. No point spoiling all the fun before we even get started. So, Kaguya-sama Love is War is the anime adaptation of the manga written by Aka Akasaka, which is kind of a mouthful to say. Just saying, dude. Now, the story follows a student council for a prestigious high school, with the main focus of the story being the student council president, Miyuki Shirogane, and the vice president, Kaguya Shinomiya. The entire story revolves around them, as they are locked into a constant mind battle that consumes their lives. They both have feelings for each other, yet are far too prideful to be the one to break the ice. Instead, they go to insane lengths, full-on 20-year gay ops level strats, to get the other to confess to them. This is a romantic comedy that wears the skin of a mind battle series, where every tiny thing they do turns into some kind of contest of will before anyone even realizes it. Anything from getting an invitation to the movies, all the way to rap battles. Love is War essentially takes the typical slice-of-life formula, which is characters killing time, whether through playing games or going to restaurants, and turns every step of the process into some tense thriller. The joke of the show is that these two have the easiest problem in the world. They both have a crush on the other, but they choose to make it some impossible feat that can barely be solved. Usually slice-of-life romantic comedy animes take the slowest possible path and play it completely straight. Granted, this is done to make the substantial moments feel impactful and emotional, but nobody can deny that it can feel more like wasted time instead of getting through a story. Love is War takes this concept and makes it the punchline. Yes, the two should really just put their pride aside and be honest with the other, but the entire joke of the show is that they want it done on their terms. Sure, the two would very much like to be a couple, but only if the other gets down on their knees and confesses. Now, before you misunderstand, this isn't a terrible anime about terrible people being terrible to each other. No, the story is lighthearted. It's a comedy, and not even a dark one at that. Instead, the characters are very likable, and the secondary people end up being just as good. The first protagonist of the show is Miyuki Shirogane, the student council president who holds top marks in all of his exams. He's a dedicated study and takes his job seriously. Despite this, he can be a brain-dead retard at points, typically when it comes to socializing and relationships with others. He's not a bad guy, and actually tries to help out the other students in the school whenever he can. However, this all gets thrown out the window when Kaguya gets involved. Miyuki clearly likes her. He couldn't be more obvious about it. Yet his refusal to confess to her comes from his anxiety over being rejected. Not just rejected, but being utterly humiliated and looked down upon by her. He sees her as an ice queen that would go for the throat at the first opportunity. Contrary to his belief, however, Kaguya is just as infatuated with Miyuki. In fact, the cold exterior she puts on is actually just a mask she uses to shield the fact that she's a pretty naive kid. Despite trying to live up to her family legacy of being a cold, calculating Jew individual, she just doesn't have the heart to really be that cruel. As the series goes on, Kaguya is revealed to be an innocent, sheltered girl that has trouble socializing with others due to her upbringing. So even when she tries to be mean, you don't see her as an evil bitch. It's just how she's been brought up to respond to certain situations. And because of their upbringings, the ways they've both achieved success and popularity, they have trouble allowing themselves to be vulnerable with one another. So despite how cliche they sound on paper, the way the characters are fleshed out and explored in context makes them stand out as good protagonists. Also, sick Kaguya is best Kaguya.
こういう時反動が大きいんですよね。
But that's just the two main leads. What about everyone else? Well, they aren't half bad either. The big standout character of the series, the one that came out of nowhere and stole the show, was Ishigami, because he truly embodies the oppressed spirit that lies dormant in every gamer. But when he is given his moment to shine, he gets his shot to teach society a lesson. In all seriousness, Ishigami's great. He's the student council treasurer and actually a pretty funny dude. His meek, awkward personality clashes with how energetic and crazy everyone else gets, which leads to some pretty funny results. Good straight man. Also, he gets an episode towards the end of the second season that turns super serious out of nowhere, but he manages to carry it through to a pretty satisfying conclusion considering how fast it shows up. Like, legit. It goes from goofy comedy jokes to Ishigami savagely beating a rapist half to death. Not even kidding, shit gets wild. Moving on from that, you also have Chika Fujiwara, the ditzy friend of Kaguya who happens to be the secretary to the student council. She's bubbly and tends to be the one that steals the scene whenever she gets involved. Chika has a positive personality that's pretty infectious, and the way she reacts to the scheming that Miyuki and Kaguya take part in is entertaining to say the least. Sure, Reddit ran her through the dirt harder than any rape dojin, but she does her job in the show. Her jokes are funny, and that's all I can say. Now, the last student council member in the series is Miko Ino. Ino is a straight-laced, by-the-books kind of girl that wants to take over the council so she can enact completely insane regulations in the name of being proper. She's opinionated and quick to get into arguments over her beliefs, but deep down, she's pretty shy and has trouble properly expressing her thoughts. Also, she thinks Miyuki is a sexual deviant. Despite how annoying she is in the beginning, coming across as an attempt at a rival character that creates conflict with the student council members, she eventually warms up to everyone and becomes a pretty likable character. All in all, not bad, but not good enough. The reason I say that is because there is another, Hayasaka. Hayasaka is the childhood friend slash servant to Kaguya, essentially acting like an older sister figure and trying to guide her down the right path. But her position with Kaguya is kept secret, so whenever Chika or Miyuki visit their home, Hayasaka has an assortment of disguises and backstories to throw them off the trail, as Hayasaka at school is a popular girl with her own circle of friends and wishes to keep her work life and student life separate. Personally, I really like Hayasaka. She's clearly exhausted from dealing with her charge as autism, but she still cares deeply about her well-being. On top of that, she's willing to tease Miyuki and Kaguya over the unrequited romance, and intentionally sets up scenarios to force some progress out of them. Hayasaka's whole demeanor is very down-to-earth and chill, which makes her dry sense of humor stand out, as compared to how crazy and nutty the rest of the humor tends to be. The whole cast is likable, and they feel like they have a place in the story. Sure, most of it is just characters dicking around and playing games with each other, but seeing the personalities bounce around and react to everything is the main appeal of the anime, and that's something that I should point out. The whole series is more of a collection of shorts and loosely connected sitcom scenarios that build up to a major punchline, which is described in the series as one of the leads winning whatever the contest of the scene was. These contests, as described earlier, can get absolutely insane. The psychology behind the characters explodes to the surface, and you see how in-depth they can get in regards to fucking people over. There is a scene where the characters have to inflate a balloon. That's it. But this simple setup is turned into a strategic minefield where every character is terrified to take their turn. But it's a really fun sequence that kind of shows just how immature and stupid these kids are, and the personas they're trying to put up collapse into dust over a fucking red balloon. Love is War is all about that very idea, setting up these characters that want to put on a face, a prideful front they refuse to take down, and then putting them into situations where their stubbornness makes the whole fiasco worse and worse. Now, as stated, this isn't a dark show by any means. There is no risk of a character dying, and it rarely ever gets serious, except that one time. In fact, some might even accuse it of being cheesy. It does have moments where it takes things in a bit more of a serious mood, mainly at the parts where as Kaguya and Miyuki try to advance their relationship past friendship. They dip into being emotional scenes that try to tug at your heartstrings. Personally, these scenes worked for me. Now, I wasn't crying like a baby, it isn't clan ad level shit, but yeah, I feel bad when these characters have something legitimately bad happen to them. Essentially, it's the part of the anime where it tries to cash in on how much you enjoy these characters. Yeah, you're on board when it's all fun and games, but what if they try to take things to a more depressing turn? It's just something that happens with slice of life shows. It breaks up the constant comedy with a tone shift, just for a little bit, and helps push things along. Once again, it's a familiar concept that Love is War manages to make feel refreshing and interesting. But now that I've discussed how Love is War works as a story, let's talk about how it works as an anime. Well, all I can say is that the studio responsible for this, A1 Studios, knocked it out of the park animation-wise. The environments are great to look at, and the characters feel alive whenever they move. Also, there are shitloads of fun psychological moments that get pretty creative, like you enter the imagination of a character, and it just goes fucking crazy with it. Now, I haven't read the manga yet, just haven't gotten around to it, but if it is a page-by-page adaptation, then you can see that the one ones in charge of this project really are fans. There's a precision with the animation and it has an attention to detail. Now obviously a lot of this comes with the genre. Slice of life is a lot more laid back compared to obviously shit like action animes, so they have more of an opportunity to focus on aesthetics. Of course there are amazing looking animes that are action oriented, but Slice of Life has the advantage of not requiring the same insane amount of effort that it takes to make a good action scene in an anime. That's not to say it's easier, it's just different. Not gonna pretend like I can actually comment on the industry though, but even animes with mediocre animation had somebody busting their ass to make it look the way it is. Support your favorite studios, guys. They need the help. Don't think this is an endorsement for shit like Funimation or Crunchyroll. Those guys can get fucked with a crack jar full of nails. The point is, Kaguya-sama has really good animation. Both of the intros in particular are pretty great, not just the animation itself, but the music. The style these intros use is sort of a 70s big band jazz type deal. It sort of reminds me of the older James Bond songs, and that might have been the vibe they were shooting for. That or Fist of the North Star. I like it, that's what I'm trying to say. And that's all I can really say about Love is War. It's a fun anime, and I sincerely enjoyed it a lot. It's a funny show with great characters, and it just feels good to watch, even if a bunch of fat women on Tumblr ruined the Chika dance. Still, I hope you guys sit down and give this anime a shot, and let me know what you think. Until next time, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys.
ってみなさいよ。あなたは薄汚い豚でしょ。黒いパンティが苦しいほど大好きですって言ってごらんなさい。
Based? Based? Hello?